All right, so I put my notes here. You got to read them. Fees are added, and that's why you have this, and then plus. You have that plus. And then this 45W means multiplication because the letter's next to the number. That means each week, per week, every week, meaning 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever number I put in there, I would multiply it times 45. So we have every bit of that in here. See, registration fee, that's what you would add, and $45 each. This is a fee. We're not adding 45. This is $124 each. That means multiplication, not that one. And again, multiplication. All right, here's that slant height again. So whether it's open or closed, don't use that because this is not a 90-degree angle. So you find, we're running the volume, see all the threes? You find the area of the base, meaning 1/2, 6 times 4, that right angle. And then you multiply it times 16. So your three numbers, 6, 4, 16, divide by 2 because there's a triangle. All right, so we're comparing the grams of tea to the ounces of tea once it's actually made. So grams versus ounces, and you set it up. 6 over 24, there are these two numbers. But then she made 128. So that's instead of 24, 288. And then that, how many grams of she need would be your question. Cross multiply and solve. All right, so this is like painting a picture frame. You don't want to paint the glass. You want to paint the outside edge only. So you measure this length, measure your lengths using the inches with your ruler. It's on your formula chart. You measure this length and width with your formula chart also. Then you find the area of the large, which is multiplying these two together, which is in green. You find the area of the small, which would be the glass of the picture frame, and you multiply that. And then you're going to subtract because you don't want to paint the glass. You want this, which would be left over. So again, this is like our donut question. All right, just an overall view. Here's our range using our outside dots. There's our ranges for both of those. Here's our interquartile range, which is inside the boxes, subtracting this one minus that one. And there is our median. So A works because the range 16 minus 6, and then this one is 17 minus 5. So there's our ranges. All right, inches versus feet. Read the problem carefully. Pause it and read it because you need to know how to set these up just by reading it. So how many inches over that many feet? And it's 1 inch for 100 feet in real life. So the scale. So you're using that scale and then using the question. Cross multiply and solve. All right, so we got our triangles. It said the bases, meaning the two angles of an isosceles triangle. Draw it out, draw that isosceles triangle, and it says these two are 42 degrees. So they're going to add up to 180. So 180 minus the 42 minus the 42 gets you what's left over. And notice they're not asking for the final answer. They're just wanting the equation. That's why we make you write every step out. Okay, so here we go. Number 10. You're looking at Walter and Brian. Walter would be your unknown, what, X, but Brian is 3 times the amount. So if I took Walter and I multiplied it times 3, I would get Brian. So you have 3 X's, which is Brian, and 1 X, which is Walter, equals 144. So that's a total of Walter and Brian's, which would be 4 X's, and then you divide to solve it. All right, a reading question. You're seeing how much is left. 7 members left over. You're subtracting these two numbers. So read it first, subtracting those two numbers, and then it is multiplied by those dues of 1460. Remember, when you multiply, you do not have to line up decimals. This isn't a 7.00. That's only for add or subtract. So just multiply 1,460 times 7, and at the end move over twice. All right, so number 22 is a reading problem. Please pause it, read the entire thing, and look to see why the options are the way they are, because this says more defects, meaning it's comparative to the other 2 already. So 4 boxes is only 2 more boxes, which would get you 2 more defects, because obviously if we do a ratio, 2 boxes and 2 of them are defective, that means every 1 box there's 1 defect in it. So this would be 2 more boxes right here and get you 2 more defects. This would be 3 more boxes, which would be 3 more defects, not 6. This is 4 more boxes, which would be a 4. Okay, number 23. Put a -6. It says x is 26, so solve them. Put a -6 here, and -6 right here. So we multiply negative times a negative, and then we're subtracting off that negative. Multiply these negatives, subtract off -3, multiply the negative times -2, +1, and you're going all the way down, and you're solving it. So again, put a -6 right here, and you get this. A negative times a negative is a positive. 18 minus 5 is 13, and this is true. So A works. B is what it looks like when it's not true, because you get a final answer on this side when you work just that side. So we draw a line right here. If you work this side and solve it, you get 27, and of course the -14, there's nothing to solve, you just copy it. Well, this is not true, because you do not flip that sign, because you're not dividing by a negative. So 27 is not less than -14. All right, guess what? Another proportion. So you are taking this and converting it to inches, because it's converting inches and centimeters. That's what your comparison is. So 1 inch is 254 centimeters. You could put centimeters over inches and flip these. Those are interchangeable. Just make sure you put the 64, which is 5 foot 4 inches, when you do that conversion, above by the inches. So it has to be next to the 1. Cross multiply and solve. All right, so here you are drawing this whole thing out, and you realize, hey, this has nothing to do with circumference and area, because it says, what is the length in inches of the diameter of 8 of these bats? Well, you just line them up. If you add 8 of them next to each other, the diameter is all the way across. So basically it's just a definition of diameter. All the way across. 1.75, all the way across. So you're just multiplying it times 8. Remember, you do not have to line up decimals. Okay, number 26. We see our totals and we're like, hey, it's a probability problem. So we get our totals and we're like, hey, we got it. But the problem is it's only asking for green or black, which is 7 out of the 20. So you write 7 out of 20. You're like, woohoo, we're done. But look, there are no fractions. We're not wanting a ratio. 7 out of 20, but they want to replace 100 times. So 7 out of 20, 20 is a total. So instead of 20, they want 100. So if I did this 100 times instead of just 20 times, how many times larger would it get? So it's times 5 times 5, and you get 35 for your total.